let's talk real quick. Um, I want to talk about warfare today. Um, and I know like how intimidating that may sound first coming out of my mouth, but I can guarantee you that it's something that we all deal with on our day-to-day lives. You know, and when I say warfare, I mean like spiritual and internal warfare. And before you start picturing epic battles between angels and demons, let me explain and break down what spiritual warfare really is, right? So it's it's really just the daily battle against external spiritual forces that try to bring us down and distract us from our faith. And these forces can come in forms of temptation, negative influences, or even attacks on what we believe in, on our beliefs. And I mean, let's face it, right? In a world full of distractions and constant temptations, it can be really hard to stay grounded in our faith. And like for me personally, I am a Christ follower, right? So I believe that Jesus died on the cross for our sins. And I want to do my best to walk in and live out that lifestyle. I want to be able to walk in love, kindness, patience, uh, compassion, gentleness, stuff like that, right? But if I'm trying to walk out those things and then have the the forces of the world like attack at me, the negative influences and the temptations, the contradictions of the things that I'm trying to follow, it's super hard to stay grounded. But what really helps me out is remembering that I'm not alone. And I promise you, like I say it almost all the time, and I say it for a reason. You're never alone in any of your battles, in any of your trials or your tribulations, in any of your tests. You know, you're never alone. When over the summer, not even over the summer, like when not too long ago, I was dealing with suicide, right? And I was trying to not live out, but follow through with the thoughts that came with, suicide, right? And I feel like you could put two and two together as to what that means. And then my parents have figured out that I was doing this. They learned about it, and they helped me get over that. They helped me, be able to talk about that. And for me, that was being able to get over that bump of talking about the things that I'm struggling with spiritually and internally, right? And I understand like a lot of people may not, be able to talk about that kind of stuff with their parents. But that was just me, right? But somebody sees it. Somebody sees that you're struggling, and sometimes they don't want to get it wrong when they ask you, so they just don't ask you, right? But there's somebody that sees it, and you just can't be afraid to talk about those things, because again, the very first thing I said is something that we struggle with in our day-to-day life. Maybe not everybody dealing with depression and suicide, but we're all struggling. And if that's part of like the long list of struggles, we can best believe that there's a nice handful of people that are having those same struggles as you are. But anyways, I was able to talk about that with my parents, and I stopped trying to fulfill those desires to, not be on screen, right? And then last summer, I went to this conference thing, and I was able to meet a lot of cool people, a lot of like-minded people, and it took me a minute, but I was eventually able to talk about the things that I was struggling with, and in doing so, I learned that I wasn't alone. They told me things. They told me their life stories. That I was able to open up that conversation to, share with others, to be vulnerable. And in being vulnerable, I learned that I wasn't alone and that there's a way out. There was a way out of that cage. And I learned that I was holding the key the entire time. I just refused to let myself out of it because I was too comfortable with it. I didn't want to switch up routine. I was scared of change, so I chose to live with it. But I learned that in doing so, I wasn't gonna grow. I wasn't gonna be the person that I wanted to be, and instead, I was going to grow more further into the person that I was always scared of being. And I sure as heck did not want to let my younger self down, right? So I let it go. Those people were able to help me, get rid of those thoughts. For a couple weeks, I didn't have those, or even for a couple months, I didn't have those thoughts. And, I was happy. I still am happy. Don't get me wrong, I'm still happy. But as time grew on from that moment, slowly, as days went on, those thoughts kept coming back, and I don't listen to them as much as I used to because I know that I won't be happy with those thoughts, and I know that I won't have internal peace. I won't have spiritual peace. So I just, every time I get those thoughts, I pray it off. The power of prayer and the support of community to help us overcome these external forces is so strong. The power of the tongue is it's crazy. I underestimated it for so long. But then I just started speaking life on myself. Stopped speaking death onto myself. I started believing in myself. And those thoughts, they come, but they don't stay. They come and they go. And when we have faith and we surround ourselves with people and like-minded individuals, we become stronger in our fight against spiritual warfare. You just got to make sure that you know who you're surrounding yourself with. And I know it's hard to recognize these things because the people that you're around, you may be comfortable with, but you gotta really take a step back and analyze these things, because if these people aren't helping you, aren't benefiting you in the long run, sure, these moments feel good now, but if you can't see them helping you in the future, or all y'all do is just talk crap about each other, that's not making you stronger in any way, shape, or form. And if anything, is breaking you down. And you could be as resilient as you want, but these comments that people make, they come and they can creep into the back of your mind. Your ears are still open. Your ears are still open, and your mind is gonna, take these things in and subconsciously accept these things, and then it turns into insecurities. And that goes into the other side of the coin, which that being internal warfare. And the battle of internal warfare is it's a battle that we face within ourselves, right? So against our own thoughts and our own emotions. We struggle with the negative thoughts and the doubts and the fears, and it's important to address these internal battles. So, as I mentioned before, those the comments that you think aren't affecting you, really are affecting you. And you got to be able to take a step back and notice these things, and you gotta address these things. And like, if you start believing that, oh, I can't do this, oh, I can't do that, you gotta go against that and be like, yes, I can do this. If Elon Musk was able to get money, you can get money too, right? If this person was able to go talk to that guy or girl, you can too. Don't be scared. Right? Don't doubt yourself, and don't live in fear. It's okay to like be scared every once in a while. And that's just the human nature. We're all gonna be scared at some point. But you can't allow yourself to live in that fear, because that's just poison. That's you injecting yourself with some sort of poison and then not going to a doctor. The doctors are there to help you. You just choose not to go to them. That's the same exact thing. You are injecting yourself with these thoughts and these doubts and all this negative stuff. And you realize it. And you know that you have the ability to find the people that can help you get through it, but you just choose not to. You can't stress it enough. 8 million people, bro. There are 8 million people in the world. They're all, like, not all of them are gonna have the same perspective as you, right? Meaning, and with that being said, if you're thinking a bad way, there's gonna be somebody else that's thinking, in a way that's gonna help you out. And I mean, sure, you may be comfortable with the way that you're thinking now, but you gotta be able to recognize that that's not healthy. You gotta be able to recognize that, sure, yeah, it doesn't, maybe it's not affecting you now, but in the future, right? So you gotta be able to at least take into consideration the brighter side of life. It's not good to sulk. It's really not healthy at all. I was that kind of person. Like, I always expected the bad things to happen. And it's like I said, bro, the power of the tongue is so strong. I told myself that these bad things were gonna happen, and it just ended up happening. Right? And that's just because I spoke it into existence. At least that's what I think. But anyways, yeah, it's important to address the eternal battles. And the best way to do that is to strengthen our inner resolve. The key to it is to strengthen our inner resolve. And we can do this through practices like mindfulness, therapy, self-reflection. Matter of fact, hold on, therapy, I understand a lot of people, they don't like therapy, and for a multitude of reasons, right? Maybe they just don't trust therapists. Maybe they think that if they tell them this, then the therapist is gonna go tell somebody else, or maybe the therapist is just not gonna judge them. They're scared of judgment. Many things. That it's an umbrella, right? So yeah, maybe they don't trust therapists, or they're not comfortable with sharing their heart and their mind with somebody else, because again, maybe they're scared of judgment, or just what they're comfortable with. It's that routine thing. We're human beings, and as human beings, we thrive off of routine. The moment something changes, we're like, like we're thrown off of our balance, right? But we got to be able to accept that change is it's part of life. And being able to find comfortability in sharing your thoughts, your heart, your mind with somebody else is gonna feel weird because you're not used to it. But it's gonna bring you health, peace, happiness. So, you gotta get over it. And therapists, you don't even gotta talk to a therapist for it. You can find a really close friend and, talk to them about what you're going through. You don't even gotta be your friends. Maybe your family. If you're really family oriented, if you're really close with your family and stuff, find a family member, cousin, uncle, auntie, grandma, grandpa, parents. Like one of them. And if you're not like close with family, freaking talk to your neighbors, bro. Talk to your teachers. There's 8 billion people in the world. Somebody's gonna be able to help you. You just gotta be able to step out of your comfort zone and reach out. Becoming aware of our thoughts and our emotions and learning to control them is such a powerful tool. It's so powerful. One thing that I do is I went and I got a journal, right? And whenever I would have these thoughts of doubt or just negative thoughts, the moment I would think about them, I get my journal and I start writing stuff down. And I keep writing down, like, first thought that comes to mind, I write them down until I feel like it's not necessarily right. And then when I'm done doing so, I go back and I reread it and I find the source of the problem and I attack it from its root. So that then, like, it's not going to stem from it. Just attack it from its root. It's like pulling weeds. You're not going to get rid of a weed if you just like pull it from the top. You gotta pluck it from its root so that it doesn't grow back. So yeah, ever since I started doing that, I found inner peace within myself because I was able to address these things. And you got to be able to control yourself, control your emotions. A man who is able to control his emotions is the most dangerous thing. And I can only speak for men because, that's what I am. But a lot of men, they deal with anger, or they give into their mind a lot. And somebody or a man that's not as susceptible to giving into these things is such a strong man because they're resilient, they're durable, they're able to take these hits and they retaliate, So overcoming internal warfare, it requires self-awareness and it requires emotional intelligence. So yeah, like that technique that I mentioned before, the whole journaling thing, it's really good. I'm not even the only person that does it. I know many people who do it. So techniques such as journaling, techniques such as mindfulness, therapy, self-reflection, these can all help individuals understand their inner conflicts and help them work towards resolution. Setting personal goals and practicing, self-compassion can very much so aid in navigating these internal struggles. Self-compassion, self-love, self-care is like, bro, I can't stress enough how important that is to have. And I feel like maybe I could be wrong, but I feel like there's a generation where we lack that. We lack that self-love. We care too much about what other people think, and then we become dependent on whether somebody else loves us, and we forget to love ourselves first. You can't love other people without loving yourself. And we try to get into relationships, but we don't love ourselves, and those relationships don't end well, or they don't end well because you have these conflicts within you that you haven't solved because you don't have that self-love, that self-compassion to notice these things in the first place. So it's super important to notice, or not to notice, but to have self-love. And just like external warfare, We don't have to face it alone. When a soldier goes into war, when he's on that battlefront, or she, my bad, when they're on that battlefront, they look to the left and they look to the right. There's people there for them. There's people there that are willing to fight that same battle, because we're all going through the same junk. We're all going through the same junk. So seeking support from loved ones, professionals, can help us navigate and overcome these internal struggles. It really can. And you know, both spiritual and internal warfare require us to be proactive in strengthening ourselves. It's not like we can expect these battles to be won without putting in effort. No battle is won sitting in a chair. You can't go to sleep one night having these thoughts, but then wake up the next day not having those thoughts. It's just not how it works. Again, we're human beings. These thoughts is gonna stick with us throughout the rest of our lives. As I mentioned before in my example, I was able to tell these people about my issues, and they were able to help me for a couple months. But those thoughts end up coming back. But I put in the effort to not allow those thoughts to stay in my brain, and I knew that I'd be happier without them. I was looking at the outcome rather than looking at what was happening in the moment. And I didn't dwell on it. So you gotta put in the effort. You gotta remember that, you know, with faith, with prayer, and a strong support system, we can overcome even the toughest of battles. And I mean, like, again, I'm a Christ follower, right? So I pray a lot, and I have faith in my prayer, and I have faith in God. But you know, I understand that a lot of people do not pray. I'm not trying to like force that upon you. I highly recommend it, but I'm not gonna force it upon you. But the least that you can do is have faith in yourself. Again, if you have those thoughts, this is probably gonna be a repetitive video, but that's because this junk is important. If you have those thoughts of I can't do this, I can't do that, you gotta have faith in yourself, bro. Yes, you can. Don't lack the faith. I understand that it may be hard, and that's why it's so important to have that strong support system. Have people to have faith in you so that you can have faith in yourself. If you can't do it for yourself, have somebody else help you out. Help them help you. I promise you we can overcome the toughest of battles. So with that being said, you know, I challenge you to reflect on your own spiritual and internal battles. And I highly encourage that you identify the areas where you may need to strengthen yourself. You can use what I said, get a journal. It helps. It really does help. And you'll be able to identify those areas and attack it from the root, so that weed doesn't come back out. But you also can't be afraid to reach out for support. Get an outside point of view. There's always two sides to one story. So, I mean, don't just go based off of your knowledge. Widen your knowledge. Don't be afraid to ask questions. Because I promise you, as a community, as a collective, we're able to stand strong together, and we're able to conquer any warfare that's in our lives. Just have faith. But, you know, that's all I got to say.